pansy topiary with a silver spoon. And the earliest teacups did not have handles. So there you have a handle. But I'm self-taught, so you may have noticed, I would think you may, that I don't probably have a classical handling of paint or light or composition, because I've made my way as I've gone along. I'm really in spirit. I do agree that. This is a piece from the 1980s. That was one of my earliest pieces. So, and then, you know, there are lots of them. But I'm very inspired by still life and nature. Everything I do, it seems to be focused on, I think you'd say, graphic design. So yeah, I just, I'm sure as all of us, enjoy experimenting with various ideas. And there's another piece, very, I don't know if it's hard to, yes, very detailed, you know, with the pen and ink and lots of little dots and cross hatches. So the idea for me is to now come back. We have a bed and breakfast, and since COVID-19, we're not open. So I think I'm going to visit doing my artwork. Now, here's another piece that I've created, and I don't tend to copy from anything. So if I create a candle that's a house, that's from my imagination. And the same holds true really for anything that I'm creating. I do like to kind of, you know, experiment. And here's one for children as well, very Victorian. My cat, this is quite old, having tea with another cat. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to show the pieces. I'm not in my studio because I'm intentionally out here with Brent, who's also just started painting, and I'll talk about that later. But I'm out here showing you. That's another pen and ink, another spoon topiary, and you know, there's lots of different pieces of art, lots of miniatures. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. You know, I'm delighted to have joined you folks, and hoping to create more art as I go along. So I don't know how we're doing for time there. There's more sky with sort of whimsical Victorian things. That's digital art, and it will end up being a painting.
You're okay for time. You've got about 4 more minutes.
Okay, so yes, and now the last thing I've done, folks, is I decided I needed to make paper earrings because I'm having so much fun cutting out and designing these pieces. So my tree every year is different, my Christmas tree, and I have about 200 different images that I have fun creating by the hour on Adobe Photoshop of various components. This was a queen bee's afternoon tea. There are the bees again. So, you know, that's kind of the direction I'm going in, somewhere between crafts and paper cutouts and little, you know, pieces of, oh, here's the early mice, the very early mice drawing. Very detailed, a lot of dots and cross hatches. Very persnickety work, I will say. I don't know that I have the eyesight to do it now, but that was back in the day. So that's what I do, folks. That's what I do. Oh, and here's a sort of looser watercolor of a doll that I'm working on, a porcelain doll. So I'm kind of I'm all over the board. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, there we go. So yeah, it's been a delight, an absolute delight to get back to creating and, you know, just allowing free reign. My mom was a writer of children's books. I maybe should have mentioned that. So that's why we used to collaborate. She now has Alzheimer's, unfortunately. But, you know, that's I'm just going to flip this one more time before I end. Yeah, that's where I get my ideas. Everything had a little story, and that's the preliminary drawing for my bunny bee in a teapot. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Been a lot of fun.
Well, thank you so much, Wanda. We really enjoyed you showing your pieces of work, which are so fine and detailed and
Well, thank you.
lovely. So
Thank you.
we will go on now to Brent Kowalski, who is Wanda's husband, and he's a fine artist as well. He primarily paints in the medium of egg tempera, as well as oil paint. Stylistically, his own artwork falls within a range of magic realism, with pointillism and impressionism. Years ago, Brent had exhibited his artwork in a fine art gallery, having just recently taken up painting commissioned artwork once again. Now, as Wanda mentioned, Brent and Wanda have had the Blue Forest Inn B&B for the past 20 years. And Brent is, since COVID, Brent has gone back into painting, but had been painting for many years before that. So Wanda, without further ado, if you would like to present Brent's artwork, we would love to see it.
Okay. Well, my pleasure. Yes, my husband. Yeah. So thank you so much, Teresa. And he's been slightly under the weather. And so I'm going to go ahead. And if I might, I think I had written a few notes, and I'm just going to loosely say that Brent's stylistic and artistic influences, and I'll show you as we walk, I'm just going to flip the screen, folks. And what we have to do, because he's just started painting, and I will show you his studio, is that, he really enjoys watching, and here's an egg temper. This is one of my favorites. So I'm just going to say he enjoys reading a lot of art books and watching documentaries, and he loves his garden. So his new piece is very garden centric, but this, what you're looking at here, and you can see his little tiny signature, Kowalczyk. And so this is of my sister at a dressing table. And you might see an influence of Alex Colville in the piece. But the thing about Brent, he's also a self-taught. And so that what is quite, how shall we say, labor intensive and requires a fair amount of technical skill as well, is the fact that you cannot, as you may know, blend. You could glaze, and you could use a buildup of very tiny lines, dots, cross hatches, etc., to on a prepared gesso pad. I'm not going to go into the technical details, but Brent most certainly has developed a proficiency in doing so. And this piece is entitled what, Brent? It has no title. the girl in pink. Girl at dresser. But however, so this is an egg tempera, and I'm just going to kind of refer to my notes here that as I walk. Now there's another egg tempera. This is another one in an area where he's taken a fair amount of artistic license. It's not an exact rendition, but it is the Northwest Arm Drive body of water in Halifax, and he has denuded it of all houses. There are houses there. So, and here would be an oil painting. So he really does enjoy to use a fair amount of color, but maybe more subdued to a degree. And he will use his cross hatches, and looser, sort of freer flowing handling of paint. But yeah, that's I'm just going to say that's kind of the background there, and there are more that he has. Now we're going to take you up to the studio. Then I'm gonna see if we could do this some justice here. Up I climb. Oh, yes. There's another one of Brent's egg temper paintings. And I don't know the titles. And yet another one. You will notice he does enjoy to paint people back too, but he had a number that he sold in an art gallery. That would be mine, yes. Here's the card.
Perhaps you can show some of your paintings along the way as well, the
Okay, well,
Victorian houses.
well, yes. Now, I've only ever painted, I'm going to say, of several hundred odd pictures, maybe 2 or 3 Victorian house pictures. And I kind of left it there. But this one, and I don't think it's going to focus, has a lot of detail. It's supposed to be Spring Garden Road, but again, it would be a loose. I don't like to do anything that I haven't made up sort of completely. That's a little shop. It all the details are very minute, but it was a lot of fun creating it because I really could enter in. There's a little pastry shop. Just enter into the image. Well, of course, trying to have some cadence and rhythm to my heavily stylized composition. Not at all exact representation by any means. Now, I'm huffing and puffing. I apologize. I'm a bit asthmatic. But now we're in Brent's, one of our former bed and breakfast rooms. Out of breath here. His new studio. So there you've got, I'm delighted that he's just got a new plein air studio, a plein air easel, which he hasn't used yet. And this would be, Brent, that's acrylic paint here of roses, a painting of roses. He usually has painted in egg temper and oil. Now, again, excuse the huffing and puffing. Just stand back. This is a new piece, a commission that has started his painting again after 20 some odd years, and I'm very excited. So he has a lot of impressionistic, looser elements, and the lady has requested that she will be in the painting somewhere. And that's our property. That's our garden. So I'm going to sit here because I kind of have to. Oh, pardon me. But yeah, that's how am I doing for time here, Teresa?
You have about 5 more minutes, but
okay. Well, then we certainly do. I've written some notes.
Okay, well, that would be good. You can turn it maybe around to face you at this point if you have the notes.
I can. Okay, I will do that. Okay, a little nearsighted, and I also have cataracts, so bear with me. Please and thank you. So basically, I've also said that Brent's artistic inspirations have been, well, the Impressionists, Monet, many, many more, too many to mention, but also Alex Colville, Tom Forrestal, even Ken Danby and Andrew Wyeth, a range really. And he's passionate about his garden. I think I've mentioned that. Very interested in documentaries and art books that explore the subject of artists and their gardens. And in his past, as well as current artistic mediums of choice, well, I've also mentioned he has worked with egg tempera, acrylic, a bit of gouache, and oil paint. And he's even done some abstract pieces. When I first met him, he was going through, I guess, his period of time where he was, as most artists, he has quite a range. His brief history, how long he's been painting, well, it goes back years into his childhood. And then there was a huge, huge swath of time between when he painted in egg temper 26 years ago and sold in an art gallery. And the paintings would typically sell for $4,000 or $5,000 at the time. There are still people that come to us and ask him. But because we have 2 businesses, a web development business, and we had the bed and breakfast, he didn't have time. but now he does. So it's delightful. I cannot tell you how happy I am that my dear husband is back to painting. And yeah, so I think that is you know, basically, oh, and we were delighted, absolutely delighted, folks, to we got to visit Ottawa. We hadn't had a vacation in years, and this is artistically significant. The art gallery, in the main art gallery of Ontario, I think it is, in Ottawa, we got to go through the day before lockdown. And he was so impressed, particularly with the group of 7. Yeah, it was just a joy, an absolute joy, the whole range of amazing art. So he came back freshly inspired. And, you know, we really are delighted that he's back to painting. So that is his journey, and he
Wonderful, Wanda. Thank you so much for sharing Brent's work with us. I know he's been under the weather, and I hope he feels better and can get back up to painting and doing what he loves most. And I've seen your gardens around your house, and the one he's working on right now is absolutely beautiful and really is a great representation of your front and gorgeous garden, which he did, by the way, didn't he?
Yes, he's designed it all. Everything we do, yeah, is you know, a labor of love.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Wanda. And now, folks, I would like to, let's go to speaker view. Hello, everyone. You have to come off a speaker view, Wanda.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Just my eyesight is that good. So let me just stop video. Is that the thing I press?
Well, okay. So, folks, I'm not sure what she did there. I guess what I'd like to do is introduce Dominic Modinsky. He is a Canadian landscape artist. His painting journeys are a wilderness experience based upon weeks of traveling rugged and barren lands to capture in plein air style the majesty of nature. His northern travels has inspired him to explore further and visit many of Earth's last remaining wilderness areas. Some of the most extreme painting expeditions took him across continents and hemispheres such as Antarctica, high Arctic, Greenland, Patagonia, into the wilds of Namibia, South Africa, Bolivia, and Peru. As we witness disappearance of wilderness around the globe, and we all can attest to that, Modinsky's quest is to portray a need to preserve the beauty of our planet and inspire people to do so through his paintings, photographs, stories, and videos. Thank you, Dominic, for coming on to this online show. We're very honored to have you, and we look forward to seeing your paintings.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I'm glad to be on this Zoom virtual show meeting. This is kind of the first time I'm doing this, as I think probably lots of artists here too. I have been painting professionally since 1993, since I graduated from Ontario College of Art and Design in Toronto. I'm actually originally from Poland, or emigrated in 1987. I already had experience in art since the child, like most of us, but I was apprenticed to master printmaker since age of 6 till 16, and I attended School of Artistic Design in Warsaw before I came to Canada. So since I graduated from OCA, I started traveling extensively across Canada and the rest of the world, capturing the our diminishing wilderness in plein air sketches, and then of course translating them into a big work. I also, I am based on the West Coast right now in Nanaimo, the California of Canada, a little enclave. But my kind of a painting and spiritual home is Yukon and Alaska, where I spent last 25 years painting hundreds and hundreds of paintings on location and translating them into very large studio paintings. So I'm just sitting right now on my couch, so I'm gonna move my computer and I'm gonna pen my my video so you can see my studio, and then I can show you more individual paintings and what I do. So just be patient. So this is the view of my studio where I work every day. This is my painting taburet with oil paints, color exercises. And I just gotta put my computer down. So this is a latest painting, and it is 84 inches wide by 44 inches tall. It's based on a expedition to Clackwood Sound on Vergas Island, and it's oil on canvas. I always paint in oil, and I paint in alla prima or wet on wet, impasto style, both in my sketches and my studio work. So I'm just gonna bring it a little bit closer so you can see a little bit of detail. So this particular painting took me about 8 months to complete. So I'm gonna remove this painting. So give me a moment, because it's such a large painting, and I'm gonna put another painting on the easel so you can see the difference. So that's the best way.
Dominique, we've got Penny and Kurt saying it's stunning, and Tracy Evans saying, wow.
Oh, thank you, yeah. Thanks.
Hi, Teresa.
Hello, I'm not sure who said hi. Was that?
It's great.
This is another painting I'm working on.
Okay.
It's as you can see the progress and how I work the painting. This is of the Bella Coola area, also on our Pacific West Coast, but slightly north of Vancouver Island. And it is 6 feet by 4 feet. So another large painting. So I paint quite large paintings because I'm represented by major Canadian galleries, and unfortunately, since 2008, small work doesn't sell very well. So I started painting very large paintings, which are much easier to sell these days. That seems to be the case. So I show you another one. This is another painting from my trip to Bolivia and Peru. I did a 7 weeks plein air painting on a motorcycle through South America. And I painted on location. I brought about 30 paintings in the back of my motorcycles, all in oil. And this is based on some of the experiences and photographs I took of the indigenous people up there. This is the sun god behind the child, a boy, holding a big feather, condor feather, which is quite big compared to our eagles. And that particular image comes from the Sacred Valley on the way to Machu Picchu. This is 30 by 40 inches oil on canvas. I can show you a little bit of a detail. So occasionally I paint portraits, but not very often.
We've got from Kurt and Kenny again saying that the large canvas format works so well with the grand landscapes you're capturing. Love your color sense. Wow.
You have to have the scale to really represent the massive scale of the West Coast and the North. I was very moved by being in Machu Picchu, so I also painted some view of the guardhouse from the actual Machu Picchu and the stairs. This is 4 feet by 2 feet, all on canvas. So I will show you something, for example, what I do on location. Maybe a better light here. Okay. So this is a painting done on location. Oil on panel. I paint on 11 by 14 inches. And that's backpacking into the mountains, about 20 kilometers with oil panels and bringing them in. This is kind of a unique painting. This is in the Andes in Bolivia, also painted on location. 11 by 14.
Nancy Fumerton, can you take your, can you go off of speaker view and let Dominique be on?
And I also like painting architecture occasionally, capturing unique aspects of our civilization across the world. So I traveled to Japan many times, and this one is one of the oldest indigenous structures in Bolivia on Lake Titicaca, also painted on location. And in the studio, besides doing the big ones, I sometimes do paintings which are 18 by 24. Those are kind of more like studies and ideas for the big ones. I usually complete them in a day or two. They are wet on wet. And sometimes I do a size like that when I do my workshops, oil painting workshops in my studio or other venues on the West Coast. I'll show you a couple more. That's all ideas from my recent Yukon trip that I did in the autumn of last year.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so that's all I have currently in the studio in terms of landscape. but also I do lots of concept development ideas, which I called doodles, and they give me ideas for texture and compositions. They're extremely helpful to loosen up when you do large studio work. And then sometimes when I enjoy a doodle, I turn them into bigger works, abstract works like that, which you see. Those are mixed media, and they are half sheet watercolor on watercolor papers, gessoed. So if there's any questions, I will be happy to answer. I'm represented on the West Coast by Mountain Galleries, which is my main gallery. Also Canada House Gallery and other galleries in the United States. You can all find the relevant information on my website, paintingjourneys.com, and all other social media that I'm connected to. So yeah, I just want to thank you for your time, and all the best.
Thank you so much, Dominic. That was lovely. I love your large paintings and your bright colors that you use in, and that's what attracted me to your paintings to begin with. And I contacted you at that point, but thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so now I would like to introduce Mr. Serge Dubé. And Serge has been painting with different mediums, including watercolor, oil, and acrylic. He paints the gamut from realism to impressionism, his favorite being surrealism. Most recently, he has had great success with developing his own acrylic technique. I'm just gonna go, there we go. There's Serge. Hi, Serge. So he has this wonderful acrylic paint that he has developed that is so fabulous. When you look at it, it's so fluid and wonderful, and you have so much movement in his painting, and the colors are so bright. His extensive body of work and long career as an artist makes him well known and highly collectible around the globe. He has worked with such artists as Jean-Paul Riopel, Chris McClure, and Brent Heighton, and many others. For Dubé, it's as though paint runs through his veins. He has dedicated his life to exploration of the fourth dimension through paint and the quality of uniqueness. Dubé believes that painting and sculpture are the only forms of fine art you can collect in a single sample. Thank you, Serge. If you would like to present.
Yes, hello everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good, okay. Yeah. So, thank you, Dominic. That was really nice. Let's start with, I came here on the West Coast in 1981. And then I had my first show at the Harrison Hot Spring Art Festival, I think, or something like that. And then not too long after that, I've joined a group of artists with Chris McClure, Brent Heighton, Alex Fong, Barbara Bolt, and then John Anderson showed up for time to time. At that time, we used to do a lot of shows, different places. John Revel was there as well too. He came along, Alan Wiley, and a whole bunch of older painter, because I was 26 at the time, and they were all 35, 38, 40 years old. So they really took me under the wings and showed me all the tricks and all the facets of the not so much of the artistic side, but more of the business side and how to make a living. So, and then like you said, like, you know, since 1984, 85, I went through a whole bunch of different technique and material I was really wanted to explore and to discover a lot of lots of what the art had to offer me. So I did watercolors, and then I switched to oil. Then I went to acrylic. I did some experimentation on spray paint on plexiglass, and on Mylar. And finally, about 14, 15 years ago, that's when I was exploring with fluid acrylic and on
Excuse me, Serge. I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's quite difficult for people to hear you, so they're saying try doing it without the headphones.
Okay.
See if that makes a difference.
How about like this? Is it better like that? No?
Well, I can hear you fine, but some people are saying they can't hear.
Okay, I'll try this way. Is it better?
Yeah, everybody,
Good.
just type in if it was Dominique that said that it was bad.
Okay, sorry about that. It's like everybody else. This is my first time.
Yeah.
So it just so anyhow, it just I came up with that was a happy accident that I've done, and I wanted to understand and try to repeat those happy accidents. So it took me about 2 years to figure it out, and then to figure it out and to be able to repeat that. So what I would like to do right now is that I'm going to do a tour of my studio. So I'm going to disappear, but you'll be able to see a little bit. This is a little bit my music station and relaxation, and this is a piece right behind. This is all my mixing. You can see I don't use any brushes, but mostly all the bottles. This is where I mix, I do all the paint, and then if we go a little bit, this is I don't think this one can fill in. This is a 4 feet by 6. This technique permits me to paint really fast. Like a 4 by 6 I can do that in about 3 hours, but it's a wet on wet thing. So there's no time to stop. So here again, some more of the work of the studio. There are some, I don't think you can see very well, but those up there, they're plexiglass. They're spray paint on plexiglass. They're painted from behind. So again, here, some of the sample. Let's go in the front of the studio. I'm on Salt Lane in Langley, so anyone passing by. So, and then as you can see, there's piles and piles of work. I'm represented all across Canada, from Quebec, Ottawa, Saskatchewan, Alberta, BC, galleries in Cabo San Lucas, in Shanghai, and then I'm waiting for some pretty soon in Vietnam. So here we are, some jazz musician. And my street. That's why I come and paint every day. I'm here 7 days a week. My wife doesn't like that all the time, but I do what it takes to make a living. So, and then, yeah, that's about it. I could show you a lot of work, but you know, like I've got over 300 painting here, so I will take all the time and all this. So the best, you know, it's.
Where have you traveled to, and have you done plein air on your travels?
Yeah, at the beginning I used to do a lot of that, but it was not really my thing, you know. Like I see thing once or twice, and then I can reproduce it quite easily, or at least give the feeling of it, you know. Like I don't. I do the well. You probably saw the Three Sisters. I saw it a couple. You know, like I'm in Canmore lots of time, so I have the chance to see them regularly. I'm going to Canmore on June 27, 28, 29 for a live demo. So anyone in the Calgary area or in the area of Banff or Lake Louise and all that, um, I'll be at the Falling Leaf for that weekend, painting. Probably going to be painting a dozen of pieces there, just to show the technique to everyone. They're a good gallery for me. So, and because of the COVID and all this, and since we can gather, and it's right now it's getting it's slowly open. I've built myself a little. I won't do any plein air, but I'll do city air painting. I'll be going to Kitsilano Beach and English Bay, White Rock, and probably even Whistler. And I'll be painting right in the city, right in towns, in parks, in different places for part of the summer, just because nobody can gather. It's difficult for the gallery right now, so I'll be painting as well in front of the gallery in Vermeer and Penticton. So I'm going back east. I'll be painting in Quebec and in Ottawa as well. So that's my plein air. I don't. I used to do it at the beginning when I first started in '84, '85, '86. And then, but not anymore. I go out. My son is a good photographer, so, and he's an outdoor guy, so he shot a lot of good a photo for me if I need to, and I have several photographer artists. 2 years ago, I met a guy that is working with the CN. He's a conductor, a big train, and he goes in the back country of BC with the train and all this, and he gave me a whole bunch of photographs, just unbelievable. Wow. So, but usually it's mostly by feeling. Try to put the feeling in color-wise. With this technique, I went even bolder than what I used to do because.
I love your sense of color. Yeah. I love your colors. I mean, they're so bright and so fluid. I mean, and sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. in the 80s, like 89, when Bateman was in vogue, with all these animals, like I painted high realism animal, and it was fun, but like after a year or two, I said, oh, there's people doing a much better job than I can do, and then I went on to something. When my kids were, when we first had first child, Lydia Rose, we were back east at the time, and then I was the one selected to stay at home with the kids. So I've developed a way of painting with oils, a lot of surrealism, which permitted me to stay with the kids. And then we had a second one. So like this surreal section lasted until we came back here in '95 on the West Coast, because this is my home now. I've been on the West Coast since 1981, and I've been painting for the last 37, 38 years. I started really with craft, and when I was 16, 17, 18, I was doing a lot of pottery and macrame and leather work, and doing the craft shows. And I even had some boutiques who were selling my stuff at the time. I never really worked for somebody else except the post office when I got here in 1981, and then I quit the job. It was so boring. So
people can find you online, and on, if they're in Langley City, you're right on Salt Lane. Yeah. Your gallery's right there.
Yeah.
So people can come in and visit you, and you're working away, and I've come in there often and just really enjoyed watching the process. So
I would like to thank you, Teresa, to organize all this. This is a lot of work, I'm pretty sure, and I wasn't really sure about it, but then I decided yes, and I would like to thank you. I would like to thank all the participants too, all the other artists that are volunteering, like, and giving their time, and then. Like it just we have to keep together, like it just
yes, absolutely.
Art is for all levels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like, you know, like there's people ready to buy mine, but they're not ready to buy, you know, somebody else. Some people are not ready to buy mine, and, you know, they're ready to buy somebody else. And that's how it goes, you know, like over the years, you know, like in my quote, you know, like that, you know, you can't buy just one book, you know, you buy a copy of a book. That's, and I don't want to put down any writers and all that, but fine art and sculpture is the only thing that people can really buy one of a kind, unless you're Michael Jackson and you can buy the music of Paul McCartney, you know, like that's one thing. But as an original, you know, like that's we're it, you know, like, and the population like that.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Serge, for sharing your work with us. And we look forward to going online and seeing a lot more of your work. So
Thank you.
You have a wonderful evening. And at this moment, what I'd like to do is introduce Lizette Giroux. And she is a contemporary artist from Langley. Her passion is in creating unique designs by using mixed media with acrylics. She is residing and working full-time from her studio in Langley, and I visited it, and it's lovely. I would love to have a studio like that. Her focus is painting still life art, primarily working with acrylics and mixed media. Lizette also enjoys painting with oils and watercolors, and she studied at Emily Carr University of Art. The early 20th century Cubism movement is the driving influence in how she approaches most of her current work. Her mission is to achieve unique stylized works, bold imaginative statements of things she perceives to capture of the West Coast lifestyle. Thank you and welcome, Lizette. So Lizette, if you want to go on to speaker's view. Great.
Okay, there we are.
Thank you.
We're there. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to my backyard kitchen.
It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. So we're going to start off with some textured mixed media works. And so like Teresa was saying, this is cubism. And this piece is called, it's from the series Wine Tasting, Complex Wine Refined. It's 15 by 30, and like I said, mixed media. We're just gonna cycle through paintings. And there's another one. The lighting's not very good back here, but that's not bad. So this is also from the same series, and this is Complex Wine, Oak Aged, 20 by 24, mixed media. Huh? Okay. I think so. I think it's better. This one is called Wine Tasting, and it's 24 by 36, mixed media. I don't know what else to say. And this one is also a mixed media. More wine. As you can tell, I like wine. Cheers, everyone. This is Hints of Berry, 24 by 18, mixed media. And now we're going to go into the guitars. So this is for the music lovers. This is a lot of fun. This is called Fearless Frets. It's a cubism piece. It's one guitar. It's a still life. It's all obviously been messed up. So this one is 36 by 24 acrylic painting.
So Tracy was asking about your previous paintings, and she was asking what your inspiration was, but it's pretty clear.
Wine. No, we've traveled a lot through wine countries. We love to do that. So that's been a huge inspiration. Plus, I come from a Portuguese family. My father's Portuguese, and wine is a very huge part of that culture. So
Yes.
it's always been a part of my life.
And your first guitar, you have a story behind that one.
The Fearless Scratch. This is actually the New Yorker now.
Oh, okay.
The New Yorker is my husband's first guitar, which he doesn't really play, but he has a lot of them. So this guitar is called the New Yorker because it's a little guitar, and our friend Russell told me that that's what it was called. So that's it. So that's just another still life. It's a single guitar.
Beautiful.
That's a 24 by 18 acrylic painting. Okay, this one's hard to show. This one's called Broken Strings. Yeah, you can't really see the whole thing.
Yeah, this one is beautiful.
Yeah, so it's 3 12 by 12s. It's a triptych, but they're mounted on wood, which I don't think you can see. So it's been mounted, which the back is is not nice, but the front is. So there's the bottom of it, and there's the top of it.
Wow. Beautiful.
Oh.
It's funny.
Okay, there, and then now we're going into totem poles. This is another passion of mine. This painting here is called Watchers. Oops. Watchers. And it's 24 by 30. So all the eyes watching you.
Where was your inspiration? Was it from Stanley Park in Vancouver?
Yes, it was.
There?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've also, we were in business with Indigenous people in the States. So I've learned a lot about the culture.
Yeah.
And that's been an inspiration for me.
Wow, beautiful.
Thank you.
All right.
How am I doing on time?
You're good. You're sifting through your paintings.
Okay, sifting through. All right, this one is back to cubism, but this one is inspired by a sculpture I do own in my house, and obviously I've gone cubism with it. So this one is called Soaring Spirits, and it is 24 by 24 acrylic painting. Huh? Scared to the big one?
This one's mine.
Okay, and now this is Watchers number 2. So it's the same totems as the ones you saw before, Soaring Spirits, but I used different colors and painted a little bit more of them and a different perspective. So this one is Watchers number 2, and it's 36 by 24 acrylic painting. Now we have a really big one, and we're going to try and figure out how to show this one. This is actually the Stanley Park totems. Not sure how to do that.
Yeah, bring it down a little bit.
Bring it down?
A little bit more.
More.
Okay, we can't see. Can you go back a bit?
Yeah. We'll just move the easel. Get back up there.
Yeah, if you go back, I think we could see almost the whole thing. Just lift it up a bit. Yes. Good. Beautiful.
Yeah, okay. So there we go. So these are the Stanley Park totems. And this one is huge. It's 60 inches by 40 inches. It took me a long time to paint that one. It's got a lot of detail.
And is that in oils then?
No, it's acrylic paints.
Acrylic.
Yeah, yeah. The only things I'm showing today are mixed media and acrylics.
Okay.
Yeah. So now my latest, we move into landscapes. I decided to start painting landscapes as well. So now I've got a barn, which is actually on Glover Road, which is a Langley landmark.
Oh,
So that one is 24 by 18 acrylic paint. And I think that this barn has been painted many, 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 many times. And then my next one is in Bella Coola. And this is an old cannery. My daughter took the photo, my oldest daughter, Bronte, and it's an acrylic and it's 24 by 30. But she took the photo and I love the photo so much I had to paint it.
Beautiful.
And then I'm finishing up with my other daughter's photo. She took this photo. Oh.
I take all the credit.
Yeah, Bianca can take all the credit for this photo. But this is a beautiful one as well. And this is Garibaldi Lake, and it's 24 by 48, and it's in acrylics. And I think that that's all I have to show for today. I sipped it pretty good.
Thank you so much, Lizette. Now, how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, here we go. I have that one next. There. And this is how you get a hold of me. Can you see? Is that?
So if you want to take a picture of that, if it's too much to copy down, if you have your phone available or
Yeah.
has everybody got that then?
It's backwards, Greg.
No, it's not backwards. It's
Just to me. Okay, good.
Tracy Evans says beautiful. Your paintings were beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much.
Teresa, we're new, but we're trying.
Yeah, we're new, but we're trying. Thank you very much, Teresa. This has been, I'm sure, a huge amount of work for you.
Well, I'm so happy that you have participated in this. Lizette, you've been a real trooper and we love your work. And
Thank you so much.
yeah, so thank you so much.
Yep.
So now I would like to introduce Ronald George Strait. So Ronald, if you would like to go on to speaker's view, and you and Lizette, I think if you go off of speaker's view, then Ron can go on. We're all new at this, so we're all just trying.
How do you get to that?
There you are. Okay. Ron is a First Nations artist. His work as a commercial artist reflects his view of the natural world in a unique way. And you'll see that once you see his wonderful works. Influenced by his heritage and upbringing, his paintings merge the real and the imagined with the use of digital and illustrative elements. Ron was raised on the prairies and now lives in Surrey, British Columbia, affording him a wide range of inspiration for his paintings. I love this. His branding comes by way of young Frankenstein. In the movie, Igor comes running to Frankenstein after he has visited the doctor, shouting that his blood type is abnormal. Ron felt that way growing up, not knowing this is interesting, Ron, not knowing his heritage until he was in his 60s. He has this on every painting to acknowledge his heritage. His signature is just his last initial with the year it was painted. So AB is on every single one of his paintings. So thank you, Ron, for joining us. I love your work and it's interesting and I think people will really enjoy it. So the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Terry. Uh, Thank you for all the work you're doing, putting in.
Oh, thank you.
And I'd like to invite everybody to look in my studio. There, you see parts of it there. And then over here is my supplies and everything there. It's a pretty small studio, but I tried bigger pieces. I just don't have the room for it. So that's the way it goes. But I'm enjoying my work. I usually, those who know my work, they know I usually just paint animals and birds and wildlife. And basically, that's the only reason I do that, because I grew up a loner, and I like nature. I worked for Yellow Pages as a spec artist when I was younger, and I did a lot of my sketching then, and I don't do it now because I love the cameras. I love the photographs, so I take a lot of photographs for a long time, and now I'm making use of it. I do everything on Photoshop. I'm making use of the camera, the photographs, and just Photoshop, and I do everything on Photoshop before I even put a brush to the canvas. That way I can change the colors, change positioning, change everything instantly without having to sketch over and over and over, so I guess I'm just lazy, but anyways, that's what I do. After that, I worked as a freelance artist, doing work for printers around the world. And I became very proficient in Photoshop. That's why I use it. I was very much inspired by Craig Kozak because he uses bright colors and positioning and simplicity. And I like to use simplicity in my work. I will, let's just say, where I got some notes here, so you have to excuse me.
Just read them, Ron, that's fine.
Okay. I once I do my stuff, my work, my ideas on Photoshop, I do stray away from it when I'm actually doing the painting though. So it's just last minute changes, how it goes. I work in oils because I find it too much to have everything, watercolors, pastels, charcoal, I hate these people who can work with all this stuff, but I'm trying to perfect oil paintings. So that's why I do it. I have to admire them though. I'm still learning my work. I'll take down the camera and that shows a bit of my work. Okay, that's my stack of there. I'm too lazy to bring it all out because there's got to be 70, 80, 100 paintings in there. Up there is where I hang my paintings up there to dry, and just to show you some of my work that I've done. This one with the blue jay is one of my paintings I'm working on right now. The jay was on a no parking sign, and I loved the idea, and I put a no parking ticket in his beak. And then the fire hydrant, this has got to be one of my old first ones, even before I started painting. This was back in the 70s. And I loved the fire hydrant so much. And it stayed like that for many years until I decided what I wanted for the background. And it's the only painting that's got 2 years on it. This year, it's my imagination of, buffalo and the prairies, and it's just that one there. I imagine animals go for runs in the morning like people, so that's my idea how I put it in there. This one here is one of my latest works, prairies with the elevators and the storms and stuff. This one here, I'm still working on. It's called the ladybug, but I love the idea, and I put the stuff in, the honeycombs and stuff in there too. If I'm too shaky, let me know.
It
This
is
one
a
here,
little shaky.
okay.
Ron.
Well, I will go slower then.
Okay.
This is the first time I've done this, so.
Yeah, no, you're doing great.
This one I'm working on, so it's just, I have to get up to the courage to do the rocks, but it will get done. This one here is one of my latest here. I thought it's called beauty spots because there's beauty marks or beauty spots in everything in nature. And that's my contribution. And I sort of acknowledge my background with the native blanket that the dog is laying on.
Oh.
And this one here is a dream catcher that I'm trying to learn about my background, and I try to acknowledge little bits in everything that I do. This one here is my imagination running wild again. It's just I thought that the skydivers, they have little puffs of snow coming from their legs. Well, why not an eagle with the ribbons and stuff, so it's just my idea. This here was the clothesline. When I was a kid, I noticed that the clotheslines are, winter or spring or summer, the little birds would hang on to these clothes and, expect them. Or I thought they were expecting them anyways. So this is my selfie of me in my alternate life. I just thought, well, if I had an alternate life, that's sort of what I would think I would be. I'm still working on it, so it's coming along, but I don't do selfies.
Tracy is saying those are incredible, Ron.
This is one of my first works, the colors, and it's a red wing. And I like working with colors and stuff. The one with the dancer is one of my favorite ones.
We can't hear you, Ron. Ron, we can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we couldn't hear you for a minute.
Oh, really? I must be hiding. That's why I was crafted that particular painting. I take a lot of photographs, and over the years, I've gone through them and picked out things that I really liked about them. Something that most people wouldn't even notice. And that's how I get my ideas. I try to do realism with unreal backgrounds, surreal backgrounds. So I don't put the detail in backgrounds. That's, but you can tell I like the color, I like boldness,
Wanda Lee says, great art from deep in your soul, Ron.
Pardon me?
Wanda Lee says, great art from deep in your soul.
Well, I've been told that, I've been asked to give lessons, but as I explained, doing everything on Photoshop and the computer, it's hard to do it, but I can show people how I get the different effects. So if anybody is interested, I'm more than willing to show them. But other than that, I'd love to make the extra money, but,
Well, you've just really shared some really wonderful art, and it was said before that what Wanda said, it is, they do come from your soul. And
Well, it's my life. It's
yeah,
what
and Juanita Elliott says that I love his approach and work. So
Well,
your process is
when I look at my work, it's my life, because this is what I associate. I didn't associate with people. So I'm not anti-people now, but I used to be growing up.
well, you are one of the funniest people I know. I've enjoyed our conversations at different times.
Well,
So I
it's
hope
great.
everybody else gets to see that side of your personality.
I sure hate the Cloverdale and stuff that shows, the West shows not going on, but I'm sure it'll come back.
Too bad they were canceled.
Yeah.
But with COVID, well, I'm happy that we got an opportunity to see your work, Ron. And where could people get in touch with you?
Galleries.
Where would people be able to get in touch with you?
Just Google Ron Strait or Ronald George Strait.
We get the singer sometimes.
Eh?
We get a singer sometimes when we Google that.
Oh, well, Ronald George Strait, because I can't use Ron Strait because there's too many other Ron Straits.
Yeah.
So it's Ronald George Strait.
Okay, that's great then. Thank you so much, Ron.
Well, thank you. Everybody's work is wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tria.
Well, we should have Gay Adams actually, and I'm not sure what's happened to her, but the next one in line after Gay was myself. And so I'll just, share with you a little bit about myself. I'm married and have 3 children and live in the Fraser Valley. And I have this beautiful piece of property that I've been able to, share with friends and other artists. And here, I'll put myself on speaker view here. Just a second. Yes, if you go off a speaker view, Ron. So,
you still on?
Yeah, I'm still here, but I'm not sure if you all see me in speaker view.
I can see you.
In speaker
I do.
view? Okay. Okay.
Yep.
So that's
Okay, I'll mute myself.
okay. Okay, so I have my studio is actually in my kitchen, and I'll just show you. I have, this beautiful area to paint in, and I would like one day for my husband to build me a studio and have a place where I can organize everything and have it not so much a mess in my kitchen every day, because I do paint quite often. And so a lot of my, just a moment. A lot of my inspiration actually comes from my yard, because I have about 3.5 acres, and 1.5 acres of that is in trees and very rough, where the rest of it is pristine gardens. And with that combination, I've been able to use just my property to do plein air and just look out my window and see. So the other things, I've visited the Gulf Islands and Hawaii and across Canada, and gone to Quebec City and down the St. Lawrence with my dear friend Tracy. And when we went to the Gulf Islands, her daughter and my daughter came over, and we had some wonderful hikes and had beautiful lunches, and got some photos that I was able to paint later in my studio. So to begin with, what I'm going to show you is the first 5 paintings that I'm showing you are all 18 by 24. And just to go with the first one here. This particular painting was from Main Island. And I don't know how many people have visited Main Island, but if you haven't had the opportunity up until now, you would really love to see it. I'll put this up here, and I think you can see better there. So one thing that fascinated me about the Gulf Islands were the arbutus trees. And these arbutus trees have fascinated me since I was a kid. I went to summer camp and we would hike along the water and you'd see these beautiful arbutus trees that had the bark on them that you could peel off. They were so thin and you could write on that. And they're amazing in their sizes. We were on Pender Island and my friend has one that actually goes 90 meters. It's all curves around her property. They're incredible. So in this particular painting, I call it Pathway on Main, and I wanted to capture the light and the shadows cast along the path by these large arbutus trees. And I would really encourage you to visit because the light is something special there. That's what I find. And that's the part that really inspires me, is capturing that light. And so that's what I've tried to do in the back part of this painting, seeing the light come through the trees and just the way it dances in the light. So there's that one. And then this one here is the Active Pass Lighthouse on Main Island. If you get a chance, it's so beautiful. When you look across, this actually gives the people notice of that they're going into Active Pass. And the lighthouse is absolutely huge. It's a round column that goes up with a red metal area at the top. And what's really fun is Tracy and I and her daughter at that time, my daughter wasn't there at that point, we went just beyond the lighthouse. There's these 2 Adirondack chairs that you can sit in with a big, huge Canadian flag above you, and you look out across the ocean, and it's absolutely a sight to be seen. And to climb on the cliffs, and that was, you know, really beautiful. And while you're there, you might see a couple of deer, as we did. We're moving into my backyard, and this was one morning when I was looking out, and I want to have my phone with me all the time because the light changes so quickly. But I painted this one trying to capture the light through the trees. And this one again is 18 by 24, and I call it Light Across the Green. And it's in the lower part of my yard, which has it. I panned the view of that in a photo so I could capture all the light. So when you look out straight direct in my backyard, it's not, you don't really see all of this, but in a panoramic view of a photo, you can capture that. So yes, so that one. I like to think of myself as more representational of things that are real. I love painting nature. I've always enjoyed nature my whole life. I remember as a kid finding a little robin shell when I must have been 5 years old, and just the fascination of that was incredible. So,
Hey, Therese,
yeah.
somebody's asking if you could get a little closer to get the camera a little closer.
Oh, to the painting. Okay, well, I can actually move this in. So is that better?
That's good.
Any better? Okay, great. So I'll have to stand behind here. Now, oh, sorry, this one here is the front of my house. And these are all the maple trees in the autumn, changing color. And I'm just fascinated by the reds and the oranges and the cab yellows. And it's just fascinates me. I look around my property and I just have to just thank God for it, because it's a changing palette throughout the months. It goes from beautiful white mock orange trees to white clematis, and changes into the mauves and the purples of the lilacs, and then it's just breathtaking. And so this is in the autumn, and it's my front boulevard, and I call this Maples on the Boulevard. Now, every once in a while I get whimsy, and I did this. These are actually, if you can see beyond the trees in my backyard, and I've taken a little bit of liberty, changed them into more of a fir tree rather than the maple there, and I call this whimsical trees. I think everybody should have a little bit of whimsy in their life. So that's called whimsical trees. Now, this is, like I said, we have changing colors. And this particular one I call my clematis, and it was my clematis out in the backyard when things are blooming white. This comes out with these gorgeous white flowers, and it happened to be in the Bloom online show for the Federation of Canadian Artists. So I was quite happy to have that in the show. So it was quite an honor. So that, and that one, by the way, is 11 by 14. But we go back to 18 by 24. And this particular one is of the Pacific Ocean. It's what's so wonderful about it, and what I found is as you change the lights, if you're on a dimmer, the colors and the warmth of the pinks come out so beautifully that it's quite beautiful. It changes the mood of the picture. And you might try that with, and I'm sure you have, with your paintings, to see, you know, as you dim your lights or change them, how, you know, how the color changes or the mood of the painting. But I don't think it shows quite as pink as what it is. But I call this pale pink evening. So last fall, my daughter and I traveled down to Charleston, South Carolina. And it's so pretty down there with the plantation homes. And we had an opportunity to go to Magnolia Plantation, which is one of the largest plantations in South Carolina, and Charleston. And so we went to it, and you can watch a little film about how things were at that time. And, you know, in history, when we go back and with all what's happening right now, there's so much happening. So I don't know how these plantations will do because of their historic value, but I hope that that will remain a place that people can go to visit and look at the charm and the beauty of Magnolia Plantation. It changes throughout the year with their gardens. And so they'll take you on a little train trip. It's huge. This is, I mean, it took us probably about, what would you say, Tracy? It takes about 2 hours to go on that little train around all the property because it's so large. Yeah, it's about 2 hours. So I was inspired by some of the photos that I took, and then when I came home, I painted this, and this one is 11 or 12 by 16, and I call it Magnolia Plantation. I like to use sometimes goopy paint. So even though I'm painting in acrylics, I like to have nice thick goopy paint. I like oil paints because they do give you that quality. If it, a lot easier than an acrylic, because acrylic doesn't, it's sort of flat on the page, but to get that effect, because I like it, I put globs of paint on in some areas. So this next one is of the plantation as well. And you know, these trees are so fascinating what grow there, and they've got these wispy, they're almost like a banyan tree that you see in Hawaii. They've got these wispy kind of things hanging from them, and apparently some people will put those on their head, and they have thousands of little bugs in them, so they end up getting bit. So that's one of the things they warn you about, is don't take that and, you know, pretend it's hair. You know, as a, you know, kids will sometimes do that and be silly. But anyways, this was another one of another photo, and I just really love the light again. And yeah, so that's that. And this last one is quite a bit larger. I don't know if you can see it. There's some beautiful walks in Fort Langley along the river. And as you go through, and I mean, it takes you maybe about 25 minutes to go through it. And then when you get to the other side, you can walk towards a place called Derby Reach. Well, along the way, there's this, I think it's a small boutique hotel. And out the front, they have the most gorgeous gardens. And they have this little shed that they've made into look like a grist mill, and beautiful gardens. So I was inspired one day after going for a walk and seeing that. I took photos, and from that, I painted this picture. So yeah. So this one is 24 by 36. So that's all I have to say about my paintings. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. And we will be finishing a little bit earlier than normal. I'm not sure what happened to one of our artists that was supposed to be in the show, but things do come up and plans do change. But I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who came out tonight and supported the artists that are here. And to all the artists, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to show your work and to prepare for this, because I know it does take preparing. And we don't get a tour of your gallery, the walls. Well, half the walls are down on my table right now that I showed you, but I will show you the gallery. Oh. So we'll take you around the gallery. So mind you, some of the paintings have come down and you'll get a chance to see. Hold on, I'll turn the lights on here. So those are some of the other paintings that I didn't share today. This one here, I don't know if you can see it. Can you see the blue one, the whole thing?
No, you need to tilt up a bit too, buddy.
What's that?
Yeah, that height is better. But you need to go up a little bit more, I think.
There?
No.
No. I got to stand on a chair. I'm not going to do that, so I'll show you this. Here's another one. And this one here, can you see it? That was actually a friend of mine who's a cinematographer, was over on a trek through the Himalayas, and he took the photo, and I asked him if I could paint it, and he said sure. So that's one of the paintings from there. And then the Rockies, this one here is Brandywine Falls. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so some of the flowers from my pots in the garden.
Mm.
Yeah, and then my garden again. This is Banff. Whoops. There. And Lynn Valley. And that's in Langley. Yes, so those are the paintings. I hope you all got a chance to see them. This has been a wonderful evening, and I thank you all for joining us. And I hope that if you go to Tea Artist Alley, it's Tartist actually, but it's pronounced Tea Artist Alley. You can just keep checking back there. If you follow us and like us, then if we have an opportunity to do more of these shows with different artists from across North America, we certainly will do that to promote different artists. So I want to say thank you to everybody. And Sarah, thank you for joining us. And everybody else, I want to say good night and go and relax. Have a nice glass of wine and enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Teresa.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody. So I will, this has been recorded, so I will upload it onto YouTube.
Where is it on YouTube, Teresa?
Once it's uploaded, I will contact the artist to let them know, and then they can let
Great. That's great.
those that didn't get a chance to come tonight, then they'll be able to see your artwork. You can just give them the link, but I'll send it out to
Awesome.
you. Okay.
Fabulous.
Thank you. Thanks.
Good night, Ben. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh dear.
Hold on.